Heavenly Father, we come to you, Lord, and we thank you as always for our place to live, Lord. Thank you for the Mississippi coast and just the beautiful weather we can have, God. We thank you for the leadership that we have. We pray that you would guide the men and women in this county who are leaders that help us direct our communities. God, we pray that everything here today would be done for your glory, that you would pour your favor on the coast. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Sheriff, would you lead us in the pledge?
I will. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is to recognize Louis Prince, discuss claim damages to his vehicle on July 16, 2024. Mr. Prince?
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Prince present? Just give us your name and address, Mr. Prince, and then tell us what you got.
My name is Louis Prince. My address is 10900 East Taylor Road, Gulfport, Mississippi. And I noticed on your paper it says the 16th, but it happened on the 15th.
Okay.
So I was on my way to my cardiologist at about 9:30, and they were mowing the grass around 13th Avenue, and I heard something hit the side of my truck. And when safe, I pulled over by the aquarium and saw there was a small dent in there. And I turned around and I went back and I talked to the guy who was cutting grass in that area. His name was Austin. I called the officers and they came out and made a report. And I've just been waiting on you guys. I talked to someone else's number that he had given me. I don't remember the guy's name, but he was a supervisor.
Okay. Pretty McKnight, probably. Supervisor Jones?
Did it happen where?
It happened right around Shaggy's at 13th Avenue. Is that 13th Avenue? 15th, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was, I think they reported it.
mowing the
it was,
median is what it
They were
said.
Yeah, they
mowing
were.
the median. Is that right, Trey? It was the median?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we have flags out? Trey, would you mind?
Yes, sir. Yep, they were mowing the medians right there at Shaggy's on Highway 90, but we did have our signs at each end of the mowing area. And Ms. Bradley's got the report on everything.
Yeah. Brad?
Yeah, I went to investigate. We had signs, the guy was gone by the time I got out there. But we did have signs. We had one on Hughes and one right there on Pratt, I think it was.
Was the mower, was it a lawnmower?
Yes, sir.
Was the mower in perfect condition, all the
Yes, sir.
safety devices on it?
Yes, sir. I've got pictures of all that.
Okay. We'll let our attorney explain the law, because it's sometimes hard to swallow, but, Alderman, would you mind explaining the law in reference to our obligation?
The board cannot legally pay a claim unless there's some determination that the county employee was guilty of some negligence. It would be an illegal claim if they paid it without that evidence. In this case, having reviewed the backups, I don't see any evidence of negligence. It's an unfortunate consequence of having to mow the grass. So, in fact, in this case, you're not sure that the rock mower was the source of the rock thrown. A rock can be thrown from another vehicle even. So, I don't see any evidence that would permit the board, even if it wanted to pay this claim. Unfortunately.
All right, anything else? All right, Chair, at this time, I entertain a motion.
Motion to deny.
I have a motion. What?
I'll second.
And there's a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye. Those opposed by no. Motion carries. Recognize Sarah Chrysler Rusky, Director, Harris County Library Assistant, to discuss ARPA grant this library received. Ms. Sarah?
Good morning. I just wanted to come in and tell you just a little bit of good news. We are very appreciative of the support we get from the county, but we always are looking for outside funds to help supplement our services and augment our services. So we recently, Ms. Tara Morgan, who is our Margaret Sherry manager saw an opportunity to enhance services for seniors, and so she applied for an AARP Community Challenge grant, and we are going to get rollators. I don't know if you know what a rollator is, but it's the walkers that have the seat and have a little little basket. So seniors who may need a little just extra assistance when they come in the library, they don't have to bring one in and out of their car. They can come in, they can use that, they can sit on it, they can browse. So we're gonna get those at D'Iberville, West Biloxi, and Margaret Sherry. We will also get an extra books in our large print collection. That is very popular with seniors because, you know, as you get older, it's harder to read the tiny letters. And they're also very expensive books, so we can add to our collection and have more materials for our senior citizens. And you may remember that West Biloxi, we recently had some renovations, and we only have one comfortable chair in the building, so we're gonna add to our seating so that seniors don't have to sit on our hard bench that we have. So we're just glad to have a little extra for especially for our senior citizens, and we wanted to share it with you, a little happy news to start the Monday.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much. This time, we'd like to recognize Mr. David Hardy to discuss the Virgin Center and Health Department. Mr. Hardy?
Thank you, Dr. Ladner. Subsequent to the last board meeting, when this project was discussed, I had the opportunity to visit a number of sites along the Seaway that were identified as possible sites, being county-owned sites in an appropriate location. Some of those sites were determined to have wetland issues, and in terms of looking for a shovel-ready site, something that you could immediately build on, county engineer had recommended that the wetland sites could be a lengthy approval process.
The mitigation?
The mitigation. So in that context, I advised Robbie that we would look at, I don't know the address on this site, Robbie. It's the south side of the west end.
It probably doesn't have an address if there's no location.
It is currently being marketed by the Development Commission, but it is a high ground site outside of the flood zone, suitable size to accommodate both the health department and the diversion center. I prepared a test fit on that site just to see how they would work. I think, and it's kind of this long vertical site. We could have the health department building fronting Seaway, and again, this was just a quick test fit that I emailed copies of to the board, and I only have one copy, but certainly could pass it around if you're. You've seen this. So,
hold on just a minute. Have y'all all had an opportunity?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So in looking at the site to have, and again, now this health department building, the existing facility has 27,000 square feet. I believe there's some efficiency to be gained in a redesign of that building to go on a new site. They have some conference room spaces that were at the time designed for that building's specific needs, but again, I think there's a more efficient design to reduce the square footage to that. Then the diversion center we looked at is 13,000 square feet, and that's based upon all the planning we've done to date, identifying the program for that building. So with that, accommodating parking for each of the facilities, using the existing number of spaces of 109 spaces at the existing health department building, which again, I think some efficiency to be had there, and combining that with the approximate 25 spaces per code that you would need for the diversion center, we have about 139 spaces planned in this test fit. So one of the other challenges with the project at large are some deadlines with some of the funding that could potentially be used for this project. So I took a look at the project as potentially a two-phase project. Initial phase for site development, which I'm confident we could have that out for bid and awarded prior to the end of the year. And that would be in the range of about 2.4 to 2.8 million for the site development package. Then a subsequent package for the buildings that would be awarded for, and again, this is totally up to the board of how you want to manage this. And this analysis that I prepared was combining the health department building and the diversion center as a bid package. And of course, you could do it bid package A, just one of the buildings, bid package B, the second building.
About a deal to get them both.
Yeah, or bid package C, all of it, and take the best value based on those bids received. So that is an approach of constructing the project and addressing the needs of the diversion center and the health department.
David, if we
yes, sir.
let's say we start the process of the land, getting the land mitigated, et cetera, would that satisfy the ARPA requirement?
It's my
The
understanding.
deadline?
Well, our last conversation, Jackie here this morning?
I think it has to be under contract.
Do they have to be under contract?
That's
or-
what I mean, if
Yeah.
Executed contract.
contract for what? What if the contract was set just to get the land prepared?
To build the building.
If the site work is supporting a mental health function, then that should qualify.
Wait a minute, run that by me
If the
again.
site work is supporting a mental health function improvement, then it should qualify. So the access and parking that would be needed for the diversion center, I think is a qualification.
Would satisfy the ARPA deadline,
As long as it's under contract, yes.
Can I ask?
but it has to be the whole contract for the buildings as well. No, just the land, that's what I'm asking.
I
Just,
think that would work.
he shouldn't just.
So the whole 4 million. ARPA's 4 million.
Yeah.
So all you have to have obligated is the site work.
Whatever you have obligated by the end of December would qualify.
And then have to be $4 million.
Clear ruling on that.
US Treasury, I believe.
Yeah, we just need to make sure, because we don't wanna put ourselves on the hook for something and then not be able to use that ARPA money. And then we're on the hook for several $1 million out of our general fund, if not.
So
We just
that-
need to
that's
get
key.
clarification on timeframes on when contracts have to be signed, how far, if just the land development qualifies for the rest of the project or not. Because if not, we'll be on the hook for all that money. And so, just need to get something in writing to cover us.
Yeah, I think funds have to be obligated before 12/31 this year. So if we're able to get both of those components under contract, we have to satisfy.
Well, that's the problem, I don't, David, you're saying that to get the buildings themselves under contract will be difficult before the end of the year.
Right.
Correct, but the site package and, that's this question, I assume hard costs and soft costs are eligible?
As long as procurement methods were properly used.
So it would actually be the construction costs and the design engineering costs for the site development package, so it would potentially be,
I don't know if the
Closer to
design,
three.
I don't know if the design will or not if we didn't solicit minority businesses and everything into a procurement package.
And again, I asked the question, is there any way to, if we were unable to meet that deadline, is there any way that we can get assurances on an extension?
The
Considering the importance of what we're trying to do.
The state has not been able to get an extension, so I don't know that we would. I mean, we can certainly ask the treasury, but I have not seen it happen.
Ask David, that you mentioned efficiency of the building, you mean that, what you really, I think, mean is the health department may not need 27,000 square feet.
absolutely, I think we could get the square footage down a little bit as well with the diversity between the two facilities. I think we could reduce the parking area a little bit. So,
We know that they're not using the full building they're in now, because the hospital's using part of it, and the parking's being used.
that's right.
But that would reduce the cost of that building if you don't need 27,000.
I think our concern, even reducing the cost, it's still gonna be a lot of money. Even the
Also,
reduction,
the
I
health
think that's what
department,
makes it.
health department may be willing to pay
And then we just want to.
rent too.
I mean, we don't want to end up on the hook.
No,
for millions of
definitely
dollars
not.
of general fund money.
Definitely not.
So can we get in writing, Jackie, those dates when we need procurement done by?
If we can get a clarification that the site development, once we start the process, which will ultimately include the buildings, if the site development contract would satisfy the ARPA deadline. I think that's what we want assurance.
Sure, I'll see what I can do to get that, yes.
The board, go ahead and reach out to the development commission.
I was gonna say, definitely out of courtesy, we need to get with Development Commission, Bill Labors and the Development Commission, and tell them what our plans are with that property.
So, Rob, I'll get something for Robbie to send to. Is that okay?
It
Sure.
will-
Get something to send to the Development Commission saying we're interested in using this site for county building.
Maybe a phone call too, probably wouldn't hurt
Yes.
to Bill Labors and inform him that what we're looking at.
Doc, you have another agenda item that you'll see here in a few minutes for 8 acres next to the jail. I'd like to go on and do the wetland delineation on that as well, just to see
Okay,
if that's coming up here in a few minutes.
all right.
Any other questions about the project?
I think that's, I think good plan if we can make sure we get the ARPA funds involved.
Well, I'll offer any assistance to Jackie that she needs to run this through the approval process.
Mr. Leonard, before we get off the subject, David's firm was hired to do the diversion center. In order to work on the health department building, he needs to be hired, or that contract needs to be amended to allow him to do that. So,
Yeah. Chair will entertain a motion to amend the contract, David and Architects to include the, health department as well.
Motion.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Thank you, Dave. Y'all have any further questions?
No.
Appreciate you working on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to have the best.
Moving on consent agenda items 4 through 10.
Motion.
No controversy issues. Chair will entertain a motion to accept.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Hear none, all in favor, signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. 11, acknowledging receipt of and approving petitions for decreases to the 2023 real property roll as recommended by the tax assessor. Motion?
Motion.
Second, any discussion? Hear none, all in favor, signify by aye. Those opposed by no, the motion carries. Orders spreading upon the minute, personnel changes for the tax collector's office is listed on file with payroll administration and human resources.
Motion.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order authorizing the board president to execute an agreement by and between Harrison County Board of Supervisors, Harrison County Beautification Commission, and the Knights of Columbus Council 9094 for the Adopt a roadway. This includes locations of Lemoyne Boulevard between Langley Bridge Road and D'Iberville city limits, east, front of Sacred Heart Church. Harrison County Beautification Commission will supply the designation sign for the area adopted.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order approving payment for pay estimate number 1 in the amount of $47,110.52 to Penacor Incorporated for the construction of a metal building at the multi-department complex for $23,555.26 payable from account number 097287902, $23,555.26 payable from 001121902 as recommended by Jackie Turner, engineer.
Motion.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order approving execution and payment of application number 10 to Harrison County Bridge LLC for work done on the Minge Avenue I-10 project in accordance with the development agreement and the attached form geo requisition in the amount of $2,302,957.82 payable from 309-100-581.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion, the only discussion I have is remember that I think the contract for the bridge is 18 million and something, our portion of it's 16 million, so we need to make sure that, once we reach that, that's our
Yes, sir.
obligation. All in favor, signify by aye. Those opposed by no, Motion carries. Order authorizing removal of obstructions in a drainage easement at 10248 Hunter Road and assessing the cost to restore the function of the easement to the property owner. Notice will be provided to the resident, allowing time for the resident to restore the easement before the county takes action. And y'all all have backup as far as photos and impact of the encroachment. Do I hear a motion?
Motion. Second.
Discussion. Jackie, is there any need that, have we notified these folks yet?
These ones, if we have, it has not been formal. We will notify them and give them time to work out a solution before we go in there, but this one is directly impacting and flooding the road.
Good. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order authorizing the removal, excuse me just a second.
It's very similar.
Huh?
This
Order
next one is very similar.
authorizing removal of obstructions in a drainage easement at Lot 9 of Virginia Ridge subdivision and assessing the cost to restore the function of the easement to the property owner. Notice will be provided to residents, allowing time for the resident to restore easement before the county takes action. Photos are attached.
In this one, the resident had been notified before they did it and has been notified since.
They were notified before they did?
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion? Hear none, all in favor, signify by aye. Oh, I'm sorry, did I hear a motion?
Motion. Second.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by no, the motion carries. Order approving permit issuance for improvements at 22342 Evangeline Road based on attached plan and as recommended by the county engineer. Provides drainage plan, increase the proposed retention volume, cleans and restores existing drainage structure and grades to the parking area to an inlet. Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Second? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion. Just quick information, this was a condition on a conditional permit before issuing the permit. So
Right.
comfortable, and I think our request was that the engineer be comfortable that the drainage issues would be settled.
I am comfortable that they're going above and beyond. I cannot say that this is gonna fix the whole neighborhood.
No, what,
But they
Unless
are
you got-
definitely going above and beyond what's necessary for the addition of this building. And it is restoring some of the function that we believe was lost over time through the retention pond and the drainage at the south end.
so it'd be better, even though it won't solve the whole
Correct.
community issue.
Correct. We
but-
believe they're doing everything that's reasonable that they can do.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order authorizing Catherine Collins, grant writer as a secondary user for the DEQ MCWI grant program to provide access to upload documents and submit reimbursement requests for Harrison County.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order approving easement for the Highway 67 Traditions Area Sewer Project, including authorization to record documents.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order approving source purchase from our Q, I guess, System Software Solutions in the amount of $16,500 for a Public Works program payable from 1/5/03/922.
Motion.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by no, motion carries. Senior Resource Agency, order adjudicating approval of, for out-of-state travel as listed.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order approving out-of-state travel as listed.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by no, motion carries. Well, we hit it just right, didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
Zoning administrator.
That never happened.
That is right.
Couldn't hit any
Congratulate
better.
me now or later, it doesn't matter.
I get you.
Leadership.
Yes, sir.
Our appeal today, Mr. Norton, the appellant, is contesting the planning commission's denial of a conditional use for a guest cottage while he builds his home in Henderson Point. Both the appellant and opposition are allowed 3 10-minute speakers. All exhibits intended for the record shall be marked exhibit A, B, etc. The appellant will be allowed a 5-minute rebuttal, address any board questions, and the board will render its decision.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, the board will recognize the appellant, Mr. Norton, our representative.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Just-
Thank
if
you all.
would, just for the record, identify yourself and address, please, Mr. Norton.
My name is Tim Norton, and my wife Deborah Dane Norton's here with me. I'd like to read it because it's more organized, and thank you.
Absolutely, sir.
And as I said, good morning, and thank you for including us on your agenda. We're appealing the decision by the commission not approving our request to get the CO for the auxiliary game room cottage that is permitted as part of the whole house. We're asking the supervisor to consider overturning the denial by the planning commission and allow us to get a CO with the completion of the auxiliary game room first. Our plans were approved by the commission upon getting our original permit. Upon reviewing the last letter from David, I understand he's the president of this association, and speaking for a lot of people, I understand. I'm addressing what I understand are the concerns of certain people of the neighborhood. Our intention is to complete the auxiliary game room cottage of about 1,200 square feet for the convenience of being on the job site, which will help build the main part of the house in a lesser time, maybe. Not in any indefinite time as they have written as their concern. Also, we will be it will help us be out of the weather with air-conditioned bathroom, a place to rest comfortably, a place to eat, do laundry without having to leave, oversee after-hour deliveries, and security reasons while we build the main part of the house. Our ultimate objective is to build the 5,100 square foot that will accommodate our in-laws who both have handicapped children. That's why we added the elevators. The plans for the auxiliary game room for the main part of the house were approved and stamped in engineered plans by all proper permits and inspections. The columns and steel foundation are completed on the main part of the house. With the certificate with the CO, the auxiliary game room, we will be receiving USPS mail packages, materials for the continued construction, without having to ship items to an apartment in Bay St. Louis. They won't ship to the address because it's under construction. In addition, we wouldn't have to maintain the apartment in Bay St. Louis for the purpose of deliveries. My physical condition has changed with surgery to my neck, back, and knee, all summarized as musculoskeletal disorder after a fall off of a ladder. Hence, that's why I have hydraulic equipment, and much of it. It's one of the complaints they had is I have too much equipment, too many toys, too many personal items. The hydraulic equipment has been used by very same people complaining about my equipment. Parmesano needed my Bobcat. Jim Owens needed my 30-foot lift for his gutters. Renee St. Paul needed his lightning rods attached. Steve Tomney, his brother, main complainer, from what I understand, Mr. Charles to the north of me, Steve Tomney is his brother-in-law. He had to use my lift for his roof, corner on his roof. I had many long hours of conversation with Steve. We've known each other for a long time, way back when. And not once do I recall, he and I talked about my mess. Others have used my lift equipment for unloading. Other parts of the neighborhood where there's other people doing under construction by their own permitting, they use my equipment as well. We've used my equipment many a time for others in the neighborhood. I sent a letter to David apologizing to everybody to send out the letter of apology for me, and of course my wife is included, indicating that I'm oblivious to a lot of messy sites. I just work and ignore it because it's not really of my concern, but I didn't realize how much it was affecting my neighbors. but no one in 18 months has ever approached me with a letter, a note in my mailbox, a phone call. We're there almost every day, if not Saturday and Sunday inclusive, but every working day, with the exception up to March 27th when my operation took place. At the Planning Commission meeting, items were brought to our attention for the first time in 18 months, as I mentioned. Too many boats, toys, too much equipment, materials everywhere, a house that looks like a double wide on stilts. A messy and unkept site. That I apologize for, and I sent that back to Mr. David, telling the neighborhood and those who are concerned, I apologize, just oblivious to that. A house in the past took more than, this is another complaint, the house in the past took more than 2 years that I sold before it was finished. I had 11 properties in the house and sold them too. I don't know why that made a difference to them on this particular one. So it's true that when I fell off the ladder, and hence that's why I bought hydraulic equipment afterwards and damaged my spinal cord, I've had 11 properties in the house and sold them well before they were developed. On 2 of them, we built houses and sold those also because people liked them, whatever. I understand Sal Palmisano is calling neighbors to push them against me. Or I have many complaints from, I have many compliments from a custom home builder who lives in the neighborhood and an architect who used my front elevation at the site 201 Sandy Hook. Sal Palmisano has, as a compliment to us, what we're building there, they're very complimentary of what we're building. They put the front elevation on their house at 201. Sal Palmisano has more boats and trailers than I have, and David Quinn is complicit to this. I was told that it becomes a thing of the neighborhood. They can do it. They can get away with it, but if I have boats and trailers on my property, they complain about it. Don't understand why. I removed the boats, except for 2. The boat lift, we had an accident on one of the boat lifts, so that boat I'm repairing. And the other boat is on its trailer, which we did put up for sale, so there's only 2 boats left on that job, on my job site. So I removed the boats. The hydraulic equipment I use for construction, so I can't remove those. So I don't have to use ladders, is my whole point of my equipment. I've cleared up the job site and organized all the materials. I wrote a letter to David Quinn, the president of the association, to express my apologies for being oblivious to the messy site. The site on the north side of the driveway is void of all materials. That's where we park our cars now daily. We don't bring any materials in there for the time being. But we've come up with other solutions to help keep it neat. I find David complicit, having pointed out to him the neighborhood practices having boats, trailers, and equipment on vacant lots on their properties or across the street, and acknowledgeable to the construction of bathrooms below the PFE done after the CO was issued with no additional permit or inspection, hence deceiving the county and the inspectors in violation of the FEMA guidelines. I have a hurricane plan, and I told David I have a hurricane plan, and I told him who it was with. I didn't see him acknowledge any reason, anyone else having a hurricane plan, although he cited me, pointed out to me that I didn't have one, but I do have one. Marshall Hoffman has been in touch with me and prepared to move my equipment, that which I'm not able to because of the size or the weight of the equipment. He has the equipment to do that for me. I'm also concerned that we are nearing the peak of the hurricane season. So we're cautious of, so I'm very cautious about bringing in additional materials. I emphasize that I've done everything with the proper permits, stamped, engineered plans, and all inspections, i.e. house plans, pool, fence, pier, yard work. I had only one complaint brought to my attention by OSHA, but not against me. It was against the roofing contractor for not having the subs wear their harnesses. I was not penalized in any way. He brought it up to my attention to make sure that they have their contractor, have their subcontractors have their harnesses. I've helped other people, home builders, with my equipment in the neighborhood. I've had asked the association has asked me in the past to help them with getting a good deal on palm trees for the entrance of the Pastor Isles entranceway. I took the liberty to ask the gentleman who used to park his semi there at the entrance of Pastor Isles entranceway because they couldn't get it done. And at a meeting, I heard that and went and talked to the gentleman, and he moved it the next day. He would have moved it that day, but his daughter was ill, and he took the time that Sunday to move it. Just things that I try to do in the neighborhood to help people. I I recognize that another complaint, I recognize the estimating of my time frame of the contracting of the house is always wrong. But I'm not used to estimating with the limited ability to do my own work. I'm not used to being in this kind of condition. Repairing the columns started in June. Repairing the columns that were existing on that property started in June of 22. Trying to give you all a time frame of what's taking place because they're saying it's taking so long. We started the pier in July of 22. Rebuilding the columns started in December of 22. The steel arrives in January of 23. Started the steel installation in February 23. We started the subfloor for the small house December of 23. We started the framing of January of 24 of the small house. Doors and windows were installed in March of 24, surgery 27 this year. All subs started again in April of 24, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and pool. So, to avoid too much redundancy, I've asked the board to favor my request simply to have, I've done nothing wrong. We believe it would be nicer to use the house than to bring in an RV trailer respectfully. Deb and I have volunteered help throughout the neighborhood. One of the meetings that took place with the commission, a neighbor to my north of me, I'm not picking on anybody, but this is the one I understand is the main complainer. And I can understand because I was oblivious to the mess. But if you see it now, you see the major changes. And the men today have already been instructed on some extra stuff. Deb points out to me, this is what they see. And I can understand they don't see what I see because my experience of work has been through the shipyards, mechanic shop, body shop. It's not neat. But our finished work, if you saw some of the houses that Deb and I have done over all our years, they're magnificent homes. Needless to say, they sold immediately when we put them up for sale. An incidental point is that we try to be neighborly. There was no reason not to be. We still want to be neighborly. They indicate they love us to be there and they want to be our neighbors. Well, it's difficult when they indicate of things that we're not doing, but we try. The latest letter I got from David indicated that he didn't notice any change, in so many words or less, in his letter of what we cleaned up. And it's quite noticeable. 3 dumpsters were dumped out. All the steel, well, most of the steel has been used now, put in place. New steel's arriving as we need it. We're concentrating on the small house first to finish that. We had a flooding problem every time the heavy rain comes. But that's been taken care of. Mr. Charles picked up the idea when I suggested what we're doing to help prevent that flooding because his water, when they graded his land, I'm just using the word improper, it wasn't an intentional means, all the water flowed to the middle, then flowed to our property. It didn't make sense that they didn't grade it to the street or to the bay. You can move dirt around, but you can't add dirt. That was their complaint. The county would not let them add dirt. I said, you don't need to add dirt. You move the dirt where it probably should go. They added a drain, since I've said I'd put a drain and a pump on my side, left it on 24/7, all the big rains came, and all the water would go to the bay. They put in a drain. I compliment them on it, picking up the idea. The idea is that we're there to help. I have crazy ideas, they work. Many of these people pick them up, and they work. I've never told anyone no if I was capable of doing something or offering them what I could do as a suggestion. So I just ask y'all, think about this, listen to their complaints, see if I've addressed them all. If I haven't, we do. We don't sit back and say, nah, we're gonna argue with you. We don't care to do that. If you don't approve it, we understand. It doesn't bother me. Respectfully, I mean that in a nice way. We can move on. I understand, didn't make any sense to me. Let me phrase all that. I understand that. I can stay at that house. I don't have to have, we got running water. We have a porta potty. We have a roof over our head. I can get out of the weather. But as things come in, we've had delivered all the appliances. Doesn't matter how much it costs, it's just there. I'm not too much worried about people stealing things, but there was an incident back at 521 Sandy Hook. We're at midnight on a Sunday night. Luckily, the police officer, Pastor Christina, compliment the lady. She saw a different truck in the driveway at midnight on a Sunday night, pulled in there and found the guy stealing things out of the house there. Paint, tubs, whatever. She was quite surprised, so we all were. But anyway, that's stuff I don't want to happen. So the neighborhood wants to put in cameras and started to put in cameras. on the streets, which I compliment, that's a great idea. But a better idea, these $1 million houses, people can afford $125 by simply say, monitor your system, we'll put a camera up there in your driveway, we'll see what cars are coming and going. But they wanna spend $12,000, I said, I just don't understand that. I try to get ideas that are more reasonable than what they're trying to do. And it's okay, but they're trying to do, I'm not saying it's bad, it's just there's better ideas I think they should be talking about. I think as much like you said, 20 seconds. If you have any
You still got
questions,
time.
if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Did I understand you to say something about you would put an RV on the property?
RV
Or
trailer.
you requested that?
I had not requested it because I thought it'd be nicer to use the house and put an RV there, which most RVs, you get an attractive one, but what's nice to me might not be nice to everybody else. And here's another obstacle in the sense that, well, he can just stay in an RV for the rest of his life, keep getting a renewed permit. It's not my intention.
Well, if I'm not mistaken here, he can apply to the commission for an RV while the main house is being constructed.
Yes, sir.
And there would be limitations on how
can,
many
sir.
years
Usually it's
or time, not years, but time, that he could have that RV there for that purpose.
Usually it's a 6 month.
6 month
time.
renewal and a renewal possibly.
Now, the guest cottage that he's discussing was on the original plan that was permitted, was shown as a playroom and was attached, it's gonna be attached to the primary house, so it was never considered as a guest cottage on the front end.
So the permitted, when it was permitted, it was permitted as a playroom?
It was permitted as a single structure, but where the guest cottage is, it's attached with an elevated gantry.
But what I'm trying to clarify, it was what we are calling now the guest cottage was permitted at the time that the
As
house
part of
was
the
being
whole house,
permitted,
yes, sir.
part of the one thing. What did the plan show, what we calling a guest cottage now, what did the plans call for?
I did not see that, I did not look at the original details, I'm sure it had a little mini bar type setup, a bathroom, and, I mean, because that way when the kids get there, they can stay there. It probably didn't have a full kitchen.
Yeah, I guess.
But I don't know.
I guess I'm getting to, what did the code office see there that they permitted? If it were a guest cottage, would they have permitted it along with the house?
If it was permitted as a guest cottage on the front end, they would have to have gone through a conditional use
At that time.
The thing that triggers the guest cottage is a stove or a 220 outlet for a stove.
Okay.
That's the threshold between, say, a pool house and a guest cottage. Guest cottages can actually be occupied as a dwelling, where a pool house is not considered a legal dwelling.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Is this, you mentioned repairing the columns,
Yes, sir.
is this a slab left over from Katrina?
Yes, sir, it was.
So since 2005, the columns have been sitting there?
Yes, sir, they were engineered, and they were checked by an engineer to find out if they're still stable. My brother-in-law has that letter, passed it on to me, so we went forth with that to rebuild the columns that were there, in addition to add new ones, and additional columns, strengthen all the corner ones and the middle ones as well.
How long have you owned the property?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years?
Yes, sir.
Just curious.
Yeah.
I started, repair the columns not long after, but we had to get that permit too.
Somewhat of what you're building is guided by what was there before, I guess.
Good part of the footprint is, yes, sir.
Tim, you can address the legal part, but I think the crux of the matter is the permitting. If a guest, which you cannot permit a guest cottage without the main house.
Correct.
You can't have a sub-building without the main house. So apparently when the code office, and I don't think it's code office here, I don't see anybody, but apparently, I guess what I'm asking is, when the code office permitted his plans, they had to see that, because they permitted that whatever they saw it as, but if they saw that as a guest cottage, would they have permitted it? And that's when it would kick in at that time as a conditional use permit. And that's what I'm interested in, what was on those plans for that particular building that we're calling a guest cottage now?
I'm sure the guest cottage slash playroom on the original plans probably did not have a stove.
A stove?
Right.
And that's the crux of it.
That would be
the-
the crux. In order to be a dwelling, you have to have certain requirements. You have to have a full bathroom with shower and toilet. You have to have a kitchen with some type, a cooking appliance. You know, it's the minimum requirements to be considered a dwelling according to the
And I
IBC.
think in my reading of the transcript, it was pointed out that you can't have a guest cottage without a main house.
More than likely,
It's
guess,
sort of-
read between the lines, they got around the guest cottage issue by connecting it to the house, and a playroom.
Well, that's, and
So
what
they
he's.
can build it, get permitted first, and then,
But the bottom line is, code did permit him to do it, so how can you punish him for receiving the code and
Well,
doing
The
it?
key is what they permitted
Well, he's not
him
living in
for.
it yet, but he
We
wants
added two
to.
things.
Yes,
We
sir.
added two things that have been approved. One, the stove, which we can eliminate, I have no problem with. That's the classification that calls it cottage. Everybody's calling it a cottage. To me, it's not. But I see how everybody's looking at it with the stove. We can eliminate the stove, that's not a problem. I added an elevator, which I thought was necessary, and nobody's objected to the elevator. I can't see why they would, okay? But
Okay, can I stop
Yes,
you on
sir.
that real quick?
Yes.
In order to be considered a dwelling, you have to receive a certificate of occupancy, so you would have to have a stove. You would have to have a permanent cooking appliance.
So he's,
Yes.
I have a quick, just
Yes,
to
okay.
clarify. So you said that if we uphold the ruling, that he can apply to have an RV on the property and live in that RV
course.
while the main home is being built. Now, how
Absolutely.
long would that, what's the requirements of that RV? Is it just as long as?
Typically, it's 6 months, but if they're close to finishing the house, we can give them an extension we review it every 6 months, that way it's not there for a long time.
Okay, and are there any kind of requirements for the RV, a certain size, or?
The RV has to be disconnected from
No,
any,
no certain year or anything, as long as
No.
it's functioning, you can put it there.
the RV has to be
Okay.
disconnected from city utilities, prior to receiving your CO.
Okay, all right, that's, I just wanted some clarification.
I'll make sure what he's asking for is not, you got a permit. A permit, this is not a cottage, it's a playroom
Yeah,
right.
on the permit, so it's been permitted properly.
So all we're discussing is him living in it or not living in it.
He's asking for a
So
CO
either he's
to
gonna live in that
occupy
house, or
what
he's
was-
gonna live in an
well,
RV is basically,
What it was supposed to be was a playroom, and so now trying to make it a cottage, which now puts you in conflict with the code.
Well, the label of it, I don't think matters, if it's a guest where your children, grandchildren play, or, I don't think the name should matter.
You couldn't have permitted a cottage, they permitted it as a playroom, which got around the issue of cottage or not. Now they're changing it back to a cottage, which is what puts you.
it's
Correct
kind
me if
of,
I'm wrong.
That's-
I never asked for it to be a cottage. That
Right, I
came
don't
up
know.
Somehow written up in that, in that
but what Eric is indicating, sir, you're kind of between a rock and a hard spot, okay? Because for you to get a CO to stay in there, you're gonna have to have a stove. And if you put the stove in there, now you got a cottage
That's where our
or
catch.
a house. And that's where the problem comes
I'm
in.
not gonna argue the code.
I'm just asking, that's code.
That's code, that's code.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
He's in between a rock and a hard spot.
I just want to be able to stay there.
so basically what we're discussing is he gonna stay in the house or is he gonna stay in an RV?
Correct.
Is what it
That's
comes
the
down to.
bottom line.
Bottom line. I don't think there's an objection, and I wouldn't have an objection, I don't think any of us would, to allow him to have an RV. Okay?
I know the neighborhood would.
Pardon me?
I know the neighborhood would. They've already
Well,
told
that's
me, we don't
fine.
want an RV there, we don't want anything there.
We do that, that's standard procedure,
I
because we're
understand
only
that.
talking about 6 months. And maybe an extension beyond that. So if you run, you have to get things done within 6 months, or a potential extension for a short period of time, then that goes away. So, but, yeah, either way, because apparently the code office must have considered it a playroom or whatever.
would not be allowed to be
It
permitted
would, they,
as a guest cottage on the same permit.
on the same property, that's right, okay.
On the same permit.
Yes, sir. Anything else? You still got about 5 minutes if you want.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Martin.
Yes, sir.
Now we'll hear from the opposition.
Morning. Good morning. My name is David Quinn, 307 Sandy Hook Drive, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself, property owner, resident, and as president of the Neighborhood Association. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak today. As you know, the Nortons were denied the conditional use permit request in June at the June Planning Commission meeting. It was a unanimous decision. The reason they need it is, as we've all discussed, they need a certificate of occupancy now for a guest cottage and live in that house while they build the 4,100 square foot house. Our concerns, and I stated this in the Planning Commission meeting, and others have stated it too, is that if they are allowed to live in that guest cottage, it will unnecessarily extend the completion date of the main house. It's already been 2 years with very little progress to show. You do have the shell of the guest cottage. They did some structural work on the columns of the main house, put some steel framing above that. They're not connected. I think he's got some steel to connect the houses, which are about approximately 90 feet apart. I don't even know how he got approved for that, but he did. It's way high up in the air, and they're not even close together. The other thing is,
I think the record indicated that it's 90 feet. Right.
The other issue is-
Structures are 90 feet apart.
we thought there was a limitation on how many houses you could build on one lot. He has 2 lots. He's got the guest house on the left lot, and he's got the main house, which was there already, on the 2 lots. So that's, somehow he got by that rule. And I thought, maybe I'm incorrect on my understanding of that rule, but 1 house per lot. Let's see, the neighbors, and there's a significant number of neighbors who are in opposition to this. Extended construction timeline. As at the June meeting, he told the board, he said, I need 30 days to complete the guest cottage and I need a year to complete the main house. Since then, he's told us he needs to the end of the year to complete the guest cottage, and he needs 2 years to complete the main house. Again, sliding time frame for completion dates. It's just, we don't know, is it gonna be 2 years? Is it gonna be 4 or 5? Apparently, there's no limitation on how long you can extend these permits to build a structure. But it's already been extended already, and it causes problems for the neighbors, not just the unsightliness of his site with significant amount of personal property stored all over it. You don't appreciate it until you look at it from the side. He's got so much stuff on this lot. It's certainly a threat. It would be a threat during a storm surge. No question about it. And I know he's mentioned he's got a storm plan. But if we had a storm in a week, I don't think you'd get all that stuff off in a week. It's just so much stuff. I'm telling you, he's got boats, he's got cars, he's got containers, construction materials, on and on and on. And it's overwhelming. And he's comparing it to what the neighbors storing their little trailer, single trailer, 2 trailers on their unimproved lots. It's not apples and apples. It's not even close. That's my neighbor. Well, Charles is an immediate neighbor to the Norton's site, and Charles Pocarello, and he built a beautiful home, as many have on that street. And he's had to deal with all the adverse impacts of the construction over the last 2 years, including construction debris on his house, on his property. He had some flooding issues with Norton's. Apparently dealt with some of that. He's apologized for it, but it's happened, and he's got to look out of his window and see the mess. It's significant. And I think it's more of a storage yard than it is a construction site. They'll say it's a construction site, but if you look at what he's got stored on that site, you will see it's a storage yard. I don't know if that'll change once the house gets built. I hope it will, because it's got to change for the look of the neighborhood. And the safety too. I mentioned the storm surge issue. So based on the above, well, let me finish with this. I've got just a little plat map just to show, this is not all the members in opposition, but the Norton's property is indicated in orange. The yellow is the significant opposition to it. And most of these people have unbelievable investments. They pay a lot of tax, and they do not want this to be granted, the conditional use permit, because it will unnecessarily extend the construction period, which has already been too long. Based on the above, I'd respectfully request that you all deny the request for appeal of the Planning Commission's decision in June. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else in opposition would like to speak at the time?
Just for clarification, I got a text from code that, the original permitting of the house, it was permitted as a bonus room without stove. It had an ice maker and a refrigerator.
What's a
So
bonus
that-
room?
Like a playground.
So the plans changed, the plans changed from when they were permitted to what I saw today. What I have in here shows, the stove shows everything in there, that's not the way it was permitted.
No, the original permit did not.
Okay, so the original permit did not show that, and it has changed since.
Well, it hadn't been approved to be changed.
Correct, but I'm just saying what I see has changed. as
So if
opposed
the
to what was-
stove was removed, sorry, Dan, to cut you off, if the stove was removed, then it falls under the correct classification?
But
Can't
if
get a CO.
they don't
Can't
have
get
the
a
stove,
CO
they
without
can't have a
stove.
certificate of
But-
occupancy.
Gotcha.
This
Occupancy.
is not a separate, whenever this was submitted, it was submitted with the main house plans.
Correct.
So so we can't give a CO on something that's separate outside of that unless it's resubmitted
Unless
just
they make-
as its own unit.
Unless they make changes to make it a legal dwelling unit.
So technically, this would need to go all the way back through the permitting process. It shouldn't even be here if it's been changed to show a stove.
It would, because he wants to use it as a guest cottage.
I understand.
He would have to get the conditional use for guest cottage and then
And they
resubmit.
turned it down.
I understand, but as it sits today, those plans show a stove that was never seen by code.
Code is not.
Correct. So
That's
therefore, it shouldn't even be here. It should have gone back through code before it even came here.
Well, it would have had to do the conditional use before they would resubmit for guest.
And the problem he would have had, Dan, I think, from what you're referencing, is that he couldn't have got a cottage. He couldn't have got that approved because he didn't have a main house.
Correct.
The commission would have not approved it because he didn't, to approve a cottage, you've got to have a house, a main house. And they wouldn't, he couldn't have gotten it approved if he'd gone back and changed it. To meet a cottage, basically. Yes, sir.
Good morning, my name is Sal Palmisano, I live at 413 Sandy Hook Drive, one house away from Mr. Gordon's house. I think we're all pretty much getting on the same page now and trying to understand where we are. We're here to talk about one subject today, and that's him getting a permit to move into the house. And what we're all learning right now is that is 100% illegal or not permitted. The only thing we want him to do is finish the project. By allowing him to move in there, that you're giving him an open granted to stay and never complete the front house. That's what we're all worried about, which diminishes our property values in the application with the city planning to get permitted. That is, if it adversely affects neighborhood properties, that is something that is also not permitted. So what we're looking for is simply for him to finish the project. You started one down the street, never completed it, and it went vacant, and then he ended up having to sell it years ago. We don't want that in our neighborhood. We're just asking him to finish. So by letting him move in there, you're giving him an open-ended, he can stay and never finish the front project. He said he works on Saturdays and Sundays too. All we hear is construction for the last 2.5 years. Now he's saying in 4 years, I built a 6,000 square foot house, it took me 9 months, okay? He's a great builder is what he says, but let's just finish this. If he's saying 5 years, roughly, it's gonna be longer than that. You know, it's not fair to the neighborhood, it's not fair to the people that are around him. We're just asking him, finish your project like you started, and then move into both of them. That's all we want. So please, respectfully, I would like y'all to deny this. The Board of Zoning has said the same thing unanimously. They can't even figure out how to get permit for this stuff, and now we're figuring that out. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Charles Cocarella. I live at 503 Sandy Hook. I'm immediately north of this property. If y'all don't mind, I'd like to read because I want to make sure I stay on point. I don't want to repeat too much of their stuff. My wife and I appreciate your time. My wife's here with me. We don't like being in this situation. Anytime you're in these situations, you know it brings animosity to the neighbors. it is undeniable that the Nortons are upset with this. I mean, I can understand why they're upset. You know, they have this investment, they want to get into it, right? We assure you, we are not trying to keep them from being neighbors. We're simply trying to address the risk to our property. I know you guys don't have much control. They could probably keep that stuff out there indefinitely, that mess. We just have to deal with it now, right? I don't really have a lot based on what I've heard from various political people. There's not a lot of ordinances out there to keep them from being dirty, okay? In building our home, our designer and contractors were held rightfully by you guys and others to very strict requirements by the county and FEMA. Number of structures on one property, amount of square footage under one roof on one property, breakaway stairs, no extra dirt and field, maintaining a clean work site during the construction to avoid safety hazards, not installing boat lifts and power to the pier until you have permanent occupancy, right? All of these things, correct? Just to name a few. If our contractors and us building these homes have to be held to these standards, my question to you guys is why shouldn't the Nortons be held to these standards? Thus far, we've had this discussion a while ago for several minutes on how did they basically get two structures on the same property under the guise of a 90-foot bridge, as you referenced a while ago. I've driven, when we were looking for our property, I've driven around all of Gulfport, Ocean Springs. I can't tell you how many houses we looked at. I have never seen a detachment at 90 foot. I've seen detachments, I've seen second rooms, but at 90 feet, installed, I actually had to have my builder redo our stairs because inspection said that they were too attached, okay? All of his stairs are welded on. They're not breakaway, okay, they're welded on.
You're talking about exterior.
I'm sorry?
You're talking about exterior stairs?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. They've accumulated significant construction and non-construction assets to present a safety concern if there's a storm, as was referenced earlier. It's gonna be hard to believe that they're gonna be able to get all this other stuff. He references that it's that we're being spiteful, that the other people, everybody else has trailers, guys, no doubt, there's trailers. That's to get their boats and everything else out of there for a storm. So yes, people have bought lots across the street from their property, and they have the trailers over there. They don't have all this other construction equipment, they don't have utility trailers and all these other things coming out the wazoo. Somebody might have one here and there, but my point is they only have those trailers to get out for a storm. They don't have all these other things. Over 30 days ago, the Planning Commission unanimously declined a conditional occupancy permit. Numerous Planning Commission members at that meeting asked aloud how the Nortons were allowed to get permission to build the two structures on the same lot. How the Nortons were allowed to get this far into construction without these issues being addressed. We too wondered, okay? My neighbor basically brought up a while ago why we didn't bring anything up. We were trying to be neighborly, okay? You don't want to basically from the get-go start a pissing match with your neighbors, right? We were trying to be neighborly. That's why we held back as long as we did. We kept hoping things would get better. When the Nortons requested the conditional use permit, we felt that we must voice our concerns based on what we had known also from the history from the HOA, our relatives in the neighborhood and all that have dealt with the Nortons before. This history includes a property on Sandy Hook that presented some of the same concerns to the HOA as this one. Prolonged construction, unsightly job site. The Nortons ultimately sold that property unfinished. The property was brought up as a reference in the Nortons' history of prolonged construction to the previous meeting that we had. Mr. Norton stated on the record then that that was old news. We shouldn't be bringing that up, okay? Old news. But Mr. Norton specifically referenced, as he did a while ago in this meeting, about his experience with building multi-million-dollar homes. So I interviewed that homeowner, Mr. Travis Roy. He's given me permission to make the next statements I'm gonna make. Any of you supervisors may contact Mr. Roy at any time. Mr. Roy, upon purchasing the property, the entire waterside framing was not installed per code to properly support the second floor. He had to completely remove that wall and replace it. The entire waterside decking was structurally unsafe as built by Mr. Norton. It had to be completely removed and rebuilt. All the hardy planking on the exterior of the home had to be completely reinstalled because it was installed improperly. In addition, he had to deal with termites because his home had sat there for so long with the water-seeping home. The home as constructed at the time of purchase had no consideration for an HVAC system. Should we not be concerned about this gentleman building another home in the neighborhood himself? Is my question to you guys. Mr. Norton is once again self-performing a project, okay? I own a construction company. We build massive data centers. I can tell you guys down to the days that my team is gonna take to build a data center because we're doing it day in and day out. I know what it takes for everything we're doing, okay? Google would not have me building a data center for them if I couldn't give them accurate data on when we're gonna complete. As the HOA president said a while ago, we heard at the last meeting, I'm gonna have this done in 30 days, the small structure. I'm gonna have the large structure done by the end of the year, okay? The commissioners, or supervisor, sorry, I confused you guys, who's who. But those guys basically on.
That's how you can tell.
Those
We
guys
appoint
are-
them.
Yeah. there
We're
you go.
elected and we appoint them. That's
Gotcha,
the
okay,
difference.
sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Those guys themselves, you ask questions. It didn't make sense to them. Now we hear end of year for the small structure, and now we're hearing 2 years for the large structure, okay? He readily admits he's self-performing, he readily admits he has these physical issues and all. Well, how can we count on, I mean, I hear talk about an RV. Great, put an RV out there, all right? But how long are we going to then deal with the RV? Okay, is it gonna be 6 months? Is it gonna be 12 months? Is it gonna be till we get the main structure? There's just this endless thing, guys. That's what our concern is, okay? Our concern is what are we really dealing with? And how long do we have to deal with it? That's all we're trying to get from you guys, okay? You know, I'm glad that basically, he's done the things he's done, helped the neighbors in the neighborhood, okay? That doesn't change what basically he's doing to our property, okay? I brought up at the last meeting, yes, there has been, times where he's done construction, it's landed on our property, it could have damaged my vehicles, all because basically he's doing this type of stuff himself. Like I said, I have a construction company, okay? We have to put safety stuff in place. We have to do these things to keep things. I have seen time and again from subcontractors that we basically got rid of really quickly. If you're basically not doing it day in, day out, you're gonna make mistakes. It's just inevitable. This gentleman may know how to weld from his previous experience, but you're building a massive ironwork structure. Do you do it on a regular basis to basically know that everything is safe? We had the foundation that you brought up earlier. That foundation set out there for Katrina. We looked at the property that he basically purchased, okay? My contractor told me point blank, and several other contractors, they would not basically be able to reuse that structure, okay? I'm sure he got something to get approval, okay? But did they actually, the concrete base is still there. They did dig some holes here and there to do some nitpicky surveying as far as I'm concerned, but did you dig up the whole foundation? No. You have a foundation that's been sitting there that long? I don't want to be sitting here when the next big storm comes and basically the Norton house is sitting on top of my house. That's the gist of it, guys. That's what I'm here for. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Well, I want to remind the board, this property was subject to a blighted property action the board took against it.
Yeah.
Probably
Before they owned, the Nortons
Before
owned
they owned
it?
it, Mr. Dane owned it at the time. We had a hearing and
We sure did.
it was declared I think it was declared a blighted property. It might have been Minnesota property, and then they asked for time to fix it. They did have an engineer that certified that all the columns were,
That's right.
could be used and the foundation was solid, so that's out there. I mean, in my opinion, and Eric was being nice, he kept calling this a catch-22 situation. What
Yeah, I
he
call
means
it
by
a
that
rock
is
and
you
hard
can't, if you grant this CO, the board's gonna be violating the code on having a separate
That's what I
cottage.
meant by rock and hard.
So you get, he's being nice when he calls it a catch-22. It's actually prohibited by the code, and I don't think that, in my opinion, that would be difficult to get around.
Tim, we had, there's no ordinance or code in reference, so once a permit is issued, how long that permit is valid once construction starts?
I think there is some limits on it. It's just
Do we have,
It has to be, it has to continually be making progress. I don't know if they have a drop dead expiration.
And the reason I see that, not recent, but for years, people would start houses, basically get the roof on, and then they were probably self-financing, and therefore it took a longer time to get the house. So you're talking about sometime years, several years or so. So the permit itself is valid as long as once construction starts.
They do have to come in and renew it every 6 months.
They do renew the permit, though, every 6 months. All right. So. No, we're not through yet. Is anybody else, we're not finished yet. We still got time and we'll hear. Is anybody else in opposition? You got 10 minutes. Anybody else would like to speak in opposition? If not, then.
We were told there was only 3 that could speak, so that's all we came with.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Norton, you can have a rebuttal if you like, sir.
Thank you again.
We got the process.
There's some inaccuracies, and I understand their emotions and stuff. And their concerns about that which was in the past, about that previous house. But that house had been inspected before we sold it. He had his inspections run. Everything was evident there when he bought it, so now maybe he's complaining, I don't know. But the plans, as they stand right now, have been permitted except for the current plans that were supplemented, and everybody's calling this a cottage, and because it has a stove, I guess that's why they call it a cottage, but like I said, we eliminated the stove, but everything else on those additional plans have been the same. We added the elevator and the stove. Taking the stove out, we want to leave the elevator. The ice maker, the sink, the bathrooms were all there already on the original plans. And we got our permit, and then we went to the commission and got the certificate. No, not the certificate. We got the planning commission approved the 2 structures connected by 90 feet. Okay, so that was an addition. We did that, okay? I gave you all the time frame what took place. It seems like a long time, it does, but when you look at everything that we've done, correcting that, finishing correcting what was there to begin with, in a year and a half. And I know it's a long time, but the structure's there. I'm not doing the solar anymore. I don't do the welding. I'm limited, first of all, how much weight I can pick up. It's no greater than 10 pounds, which is odd. You wouldn't think, but it is. Mr. Palmisano claims that he has 1 or 2 trailers. He has 11 trailers and a couple of boats over across the street. It's important to know this, because I fished, after Katrina, my 28-foot trailer out of a tree. Used a bobcat, a backhoe to do so. Gave it to Pelican Point, which is all wiped out, you know that, to use while he rescued many other boats that were salvaged. And as a favor, he picked up my boat, which was salvaged, a 25-foot Sea Cat, and saved it on his lot temporarily. This trailer factor, it just blows my mind that they would keep picking on this trailer factor. I have 2 trailers, 1 trailer there as a working trailer daily. Okay, it stays there because it will move my equipment around, the bobcat and the 34-foot mount. The other 2 pieces of equipment, I called in Mr. Hoffman and moved that. So it's inaccurate about what he's saying about the trailers, or Mr. Dave's saying that about the trailers. It's okay. And it's correct that all the properties that had slabs left over were blighted, all of them, generally speaking. But we got the engineer to look at it, as you quote stated, to approve it, was it satisfactory rebuild, and say, yes, but this is what you have to do. So we gave it to the engineers to tell us what we have to do to build it back and make it substantial, and they did, okay? They approved all this steel framing. So we said, why'd you use steel? Well, at the time, steel was cheaper than wood. So that's why I went with steel, okay? It wasn't that difficult. For me, it's working with steel is nothing.
I don't think that's the issue before the board right now. The bottom line issue is whether that, we approve that as ultimately giving you permission to move
I
it to
understand. I
HCO.
just wanted to point out their
We
inaccuracies
have to-
and
Yeah,
understanding.
I understand that. The trailers and all that, that's an aside as well.
I understand.
That's not before us, make that determination. If your property if you were to continue to put stuff on there, excuse me, at some point, it potentially could be a menaced property.
Thank you.
And then at some point, after certain procedures, it could come before this board to determine whether that's a menaced property.
Absolutely.
And then that's another issue. But the issue before us right now is simply whether we approve, uphold the commission's decision to not allow you to move in that.
Okay. I only want to stay there.
Okay.
So like, I'm not living there, so to speak, cooking and having parties or whatever like that. It's just having an overnight place instead of keeping, for 2 reasons. Instead of keeping the apartment in Bay St. Louis, to have things shipped there as needed, tools, small parts and what have you, because as I mentioned, USPS won't deliver there.
Okay.
Everybody else is
You have
delivering.
to have to wrap it up.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. But again, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the board? If not, I'm prepared to make a motion. No questions for the board? All right, I'm prepared to make a motion to uphold the zoning commission's decision to deny Mr. Norton's to move into that building. Basically, that is not a cottage, you could not receive a CO. The permitting process, I believe, considers that part of the building, not a separate cottage, the initial, so.
Second.
Any further discussion? Here none, all in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. We've upheld the commission's decision to deny this, moving into that facility.
We thank the Lord.
Thank you. Eric, we have the rest of it.
Zoning recommends concurring with the planning commission approval for cases 25 through 28.
Do I hear a motion? Second. The only discussion I have on that, the one in reference to the, get which number it is. I think it's 25, matter of fact. 25? To change it to an I-1. Why the whole property and not just the
Mr. Blackwell it's a large piece of property, and the closest to the corner of the interchange, he has a different, he's got a plan for something else there. Along the roadway coming in, on the north end of that property is where he's proposing the auto repair shop. He was previously gonna be in Hancock County, but it was in a flood zone, and thinks he's gonna be much happier here.
It's just the size of the property that we're fixing to change into an industrial lighting industry, and I wondered why.
Well, because it's right across the street from an I-1.
Potentially, what can be located in an I-1?
Oh,
Many things.
many things, yes.
Other than heavy industry.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Under personnel, order concurring with county administrator on employment as listed on file with payroll clerk and personnel department.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order spreading on the minutes, the employment changes for the district attorney's offices on file with payroll clerk and personnel.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order concurring with the road manager on employment as listed on file with payroll clerk and personnel department.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by aye. Those opposed by no, the motion carries. Purchasing department accepting the low bid of Lane Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $2,468,000, $2,468,695.33, awarding the contract and establishing a project fund for state aid project number SAP-2459 Canal Road and Landon Road, as recommended by Brown, Mitchell, Alexander, and authorizing the board president to accept, to execute the contract.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by no, the motion carries. Recognize the sheriff or his representative as he reports on the number of persons currently housed in the jail.
Total count for today is 804. 224 of those are misdemeanors, 56 of those are ready to go. 224 state, 56 are ready to go. 73 misdemeanors, we've got 35 juveniles housed at the jail, 11 at juvenile detention, 9 of those are Harrison County, 2 are Hancock.
Thank you, sir. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Order spreading on the minutes, personnel changes in the sheriff's office as listed on file with payroll clerk and personnel.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order authorizing the replenishment of the training petty cash in the name of Brandon Henry in the amount of $2,267 payable from 001-200-475.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
discussion. All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by no, the motion carries. Order approving purchase of 4 Howard server SP3-1208A from ITS EPL 33760 for the Sheriff's Office IT Department at the cost of $45,384. Howard Technology Solutions payable from 001-200-619 and authorizing line item transfer from 001-11-432.
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by no, the motion carries. Order approving travel is listed.
Motion. Second.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Consider the sale of the old D'Iberville Police Department building and determine whether or not the county will act as the selling agent or will the process be handled through a real estate agent.
We've had somebody approach us about wanting to purchase that building. We just want to make sure there's no other offers out there or nobody else. wants to
Whatever
purchase.
became of Acadian wanting to use that.
Acadian backed out.
They did.
We've been approached by SADS Healthcare. They reached out to Wendy Fayard with the city of D'Iberville. My thought process is if we open it for bids, maybe we could squeeze a little more out of it, get a little bit higher bid than one sold. I just need a little direction from the board.
There's other people that want a shot at that building. I think that we need to open it up so that anyone that wants it can have an opportunity.
And
Whatever we need to do to make that happen, but it needs to be open for everyone.
I would recommend doing it. We already did an advertisement for bids. I think you got 50,000, one bid for 50,000 or something like that.
I think there was one for 135, an ex-board member, wasn't there?
There was a bid, I don't remember what it was, but what anywhere close to what the building was worth. The board has the option of just listing for a realtor, it says you could search out people that may want to buy. But you
Yeah, I just wanna make sure that it's open to anyone that wants an opportunity.
No,
How
I
how we
agree.
get there, whether it's a realtor or by bid process,
I think we just do it for bid.
Let's look at the statute, let me look at the statute, I think we've already
Right.
tried to bid it, it didn't work, I think you could hire a realtor, so that way, you don't wanna do a realtor.
Why would you give 3% to someone when we already have, buyers that?
I don't have a problem with that either.
Yeah, that's Nathan just said, say it louder.
I'll make a motion to open it up for bid.
Yeah.
I second.
Any
Bids or offers?
Offers.
Oh, you got.
Offers, yes.
I think just open it up for offers, how do you wanna advertise it, or?
Put a sign
How
in front of
normally
it.
do we do it? What would be the normal process?
I
Let
don't
me
know
go
how
look
we
at the
do it.
statute.
I don't know how we do it, but I know in the city of Biloxi, we never used a real estate agent to sell
No, you
our
don't have to have
properties. I can find out how we got the information out there.
I
but
think we
in my
should do
opinion,
that.
there's
I
no
think we
reason
should
to
go through.
However,
spend extra
we
money.
get the information out that this is for sale, I just wanna make sure that it gets out where
We
everyone
already have the
can
fish
see
in the
it.
basket.
Make it all. Right.
Right.
If you open it up to real, people gonna want, the first question that I'd ask if I were interested in buying, how much you asking for?
Well, we got an appraisal that's probably a couple of years old now.
Yeah, pretty sure that's the way that we did that, is there'd be two appraisals and you get the average of those and that's
Yeah.
what it sells for.
I think we got one appraisal previously, but that was just, we put
How
out
long
for
is
bids.
how long is the appraisal good for?
Well, that's a couple of years, a long time for appraisal, so I would say it's probably gone up in value
Yeah.
since then. But you get the appraiser to update it since they already got all the
If we're
information.
going out for bids or offers, should we know what the present appraised value of it is?
Yeah. I think you should.
Appraisals can take a month though, the way they're backed up right now. I wouldn't wait because there will be a market correction in housing soon, like within 4 months,
Maybe quicker than we think.
before the end of the year.
After the way today's going.
Either Tim we use the old
We've seen
bid,
it coming for a year.
or we get a new appraisal,
Yeah.
because you just can't, somebody says $50,000, we've got to sell it based on an appraised value, as I understand it,
Right.
right?
That's
Not
correct.
just what somebody offers us, but an appraised value.
Right. So, let's look at the statute, then Monday I'll have exactly how I think the board, unless you wanna go ahead and authorize it to be advertised for sale now in some fashion, then we'll confirm that before Monday.
What's the pleasure?
Just wanna make sure we don't have to put it out. We gotta declare it surplus property, which I think's already been done.
What's fastest, Tim?
Well, obviously, if we're able to offer it without bidding, it's probably the fastest, so. Let me look, we've already offered it one time, it's been several years through the bid process. So let me just go look at the statute, make sure we do it correctly. So if the board can authorize it, the board can declare today that this is surplus property, again, so we get a fresh determination by this board, and authorize the county administrator to explore options to sell the property.
I'll make that motion.
Second motion is to declare surplus first.
Declare it surplus.
So
Let's take the surplus first.
okay, I'll make a motion to declare the property surplus.
Discussion. All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Those opposed by no, the motion carries. Now, second motion.
Motion to authorize the county administrator to explore options to dispose of or to sell the surplus property being the old Guyville Police Department building.
Motion.
Discussion. All in favor, signify by aye. Those opposed by no, the motion carries. Order authorizing disposal of assets per tax list and authorizing the inventory clerk to remove the same from the inventory.
Motion.
Second. Discussion. All in favor, signify by aye. Those opposed by no, the motion carries. Order authorizing county administrator to pursue wetland mitigation on 8 acres of land next to the Harrison County Adult Detention Center for potential use of IDD building and health department building.
Motion.
Second?
Discussion? Here none, I would suggest that, again, probably that we contact the Development Commission.
Yes, I'm gonna reach out to Bill as soon as
Inform
this
them
is
of
over.
our intention. All in favor, signify by aye. Those opposed by no, the motion carries. Order spreading along the minutes Letter dated June 26, 2024, from U.S. Department of Interior Office of Secretary advising that Harrison County will receive $85,114 from the Payment in Lieu Taxes Program
Motion.
and deposit in the proper account. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion, all in favor signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order approving claims document per Mississippi Code 1972, annotated section 191327.
Motion.
Discussion, all in favor signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order approving payment of the following claims as listed.
Motion. Second.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order approving resolutions in the matter of the regular and special homestead exemption rejected by the Department of Revenue for the year 2023, first and second judicial districts. Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order authorizing the issuance of duplicate warrants as listed.
Motion. Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries.
Did we get a second on
I'm sorry,
On which one?
on which one? Did we get a second?
We did.
We did.
Ken?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, okay, I didn't hear.
Board agenda, order authorizing approving the repair of drainage improvements on Sunrise Court within the city of Biloxi as per the terms of interlocal government cooperation agreement between the city of Biloxi and Harrison County.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order approving the temporary use of county equipment, the fryer cooker, retired activities office at Peace Air Force Base to assist in hosting 2024 Retiree Appreciation Day on October 25th, 2024.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order adjudicating tax sale of August 29, 2022 on tax parcel 0412J-01-034.000 for the 21 taxes erroneous and thus void ab initio and for other related purposes.
Motion. Second.
Discussion?
The property was sold to, or matured to the state, it should have been exempt, it should have been sold, so qualifies to be set aside.
All in favor signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order approving the cooperative service agreement between Harrison County and the USDA, APHHIS Wildlife Services for the Beaver Control Program beginning October 1st, 2024, and authorizing the signature of the same and payment in the amount of $7,500.
Motion. Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order concurring with the Harrison County School District lease of 16 section land to William Bennett based upon appraisal of FMD by Valbridge and authorizing the board president to execute the same.
Motion. Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order approving the consent and lease agreement for property in connection with building a public pier.
Motion. Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
That should authorize the board president to sign that
Just
also.
also sign it. Let the motion reflect that as well. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Recognize Dean Prange, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, with American Financial Services, discuss correction services for the delinquent mobile homes and justice court fees. Mr.
Good
Prange.
morning, all.
Is that right, Prange?
Prang, yeah,
Prang.
east side.
Prang.
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 Good morning, thank you for having me on your agenda. My name is Dean Prang, as you said, with American Financial Credit Services. I live in Columbia, Tennessee. Our main office is in Indianapolis, Indiana, and we collect delinquent personal property taxes, which is furniture and fixtures, and we collect delinquent mobile home taxes. Not only do we collect, but we also help identify businesses that are out of business, bankruptcy, deceased, no estate, also mobile homes that have been destroyed, moved, whatever, let the counties know that. We have the privilege of working with over 180 counties total in 8 states. I have Tennessee and Mississippi. Mississippi, I work with 30 counties. We've collected, I think we gave you some information, 30 counties in Mississippi. We've collected almost $12 million in business personal property taxes and $1.7 million in mobile home delinquent taxes. So I know you all had some questions for us. We're not here to take over the process for you. We're here to, once you've exhausted your process, then we take over with whatever's left.
I would assume the contract, Ken, Mike can address that, is similar to the ad valorem tax, delinquent tax as well. There's a percentage involved.
Yes, Mississippi statutes
There's a
allow up
there's a statutory.
to, yes, 25%.
Yeah.
In-state, 50% out-state, although we only do 25% no matter what. That's added to the tax bill.
Added to the tax.
Added to the
Doesn't
tax.
cost the county anything.
Yeah, this is
Ultimately.
no cost to the county.
Fresh, Ms. Fresh, excuse me. Sharon, do you,
It's just another option. I didn't know if you knew y'all, we had other options. Right now, we use Justice Court. We give them to Justice Court, and Justice Court turns them over to the constables to be served. This is just another option that we would have versus doing what we do now.
okay.
Doc,
Thank
this
you.
would be
Yes,
a
sir.
savings to the county that would come out of us not paying the constables and it would be tacked on. It-
Got you.
it-
Good.
Somewhere about 25,000.
Yes.
Karen, I think it's what we estimated.
A year?
A year. So that would, be a savings to the county where we would not be paying the cost.
Good, okay.
You may still have to follow those statutory procedures on collection in order to satisfy, they're gonna collect the ones that doesn't work on, as I understand. So you may not save you may save some, but you may not save, I don't know how much it would save, because you gotta follow those statutory procedures.
The statute is, we sent them a courtesy notice, of course, which isn't a statute, that's an option. We send them a courtesy notice, but if they don't pay, when we turn them over to y'all in September, we give them to you to turn over to Justice Court. They send the constables out to serve them, but the law says, the statute says, you can either use Justice Court or you can use a vendor who can make phone calls. They do this, year round, it's a year round thing for them. Well, I can't sit and investigate mobile homes all day long, or our office can. So they'll exhaust all options to try to find the mobile homeowner and ask them to pay the taxes.
And it would be an ease on our justice court, which we
Yes.
know is already burdened.
You recommended?
I'm just giving you the facts so you can make the best decision.
Why wouldn't you recommend it? I find it,
I mean, it
curious.
saves the
You're
county
reluctant
money,
to
yes, sure,
recommend
we're
or
not out of
suggest
pocket.
something. I'm sorry?
I said it saves the county for sure, because we're not going out of pocket. My job is to try to figure out all the ways to be as frugal as we can, and to, for example, like property taxes. The property tax sale now, we don't pay for the tax sale, of course, I've already mentioned to y'all. Now we add the $20 on there and we get our money back. So if you're delinquent on your taxes, at the end, we get that money back because you're paying that delinquency. The county's not forking it out anymore.
Is there a
Personal
time-
property, same thing.
Is there a time on the delinquency that they get involved?
September, October. As soon as we turn them over to you, they go to them.
Okay.
It'll go to them just like it goes straight to justice court and it's out of our hands. But on the back end, even if a vendor takes it or even if justice court takes it, no matter who gets it, on our end, our office still will investigate while a statement came back. Why did it come back? Is the mobile home possibly gone? Did it get moved? Is it abandoned? We'll still try to figure out what happened with it. And we work along with zoning and code, the tax assessor and us. We work as a team together to try to figure out where they are, because we don't want to serve the same mobile home for 18 and 10 years.
And that's happened in the past?
And that's
the
happening
councils
right
go over
now
and
as we
over?
talk.
Some you've
Yes.
never collected, huh? Some you've never collected.
For example, we have one right now that's 18, if the lady paid it was 18 years late. She paid it. She moved it, but put another mobile home there, and we never knew that we were serving a different mobile home this whole time. 18 years ago, she sold it and moved it to Alabama. We've been serving the wrong mobile home for 18 years because we never knew it. So now I got to go back out to her to make her register the one she should have registered 18 years ago.
Good.
So
And
it's a major
notify the
problem.
county of that if a mobile home has been moved. We also have a web portal that is real time. Sharon can see any notes if we've talked to the taxpayer, whether they called us or we called them. She can look at the notes and it's real time and see where we are in the process. And another thing we do is we do payment plans. So if somebody does owe back 12, 14, 15 years on a mobile home, they can make a payment plan with us, and we get the oldest year first, send that to Sharon, start collecting on the next year. So it actually helps people get back in good graces where they need to be.
All of your employees are in the United States?
Yes.
That was a very good question.
We're not a barking dog agency either. We work with them, you know, we want to get this resolved, whether it's get it paid or get it off the books, which also saves the county money.
I had a fellow one time, he said, I need to speak with somebody that speaks better English,
Yeah.
and he said,
Oh, no.
I speak very good English. I said, well, I don't, I can't understand yours.
We also have 3 bilingual,
Finally hung up.
electors as well. So,
Frustration, so that's why.
sure.
Okay, would it be the board's pleasure to proceed, I guess,
I'm
authorize,
prepared. I'm prepared to make a motion to go ahead with this vendor.
Can you get the board to authorize them to send us the contract? Let's review
Yeah.
it.
Oh, I thought you already had the contract, I'm sorry.
I'll send it to them.
That's what I was saying, motion to proceed with whatever process
Get it on the
necessary.
agenda for Monday.
All right, motion to proceed.
Thank you very much.
I would just like to mention though really quick, that I think that the justice court and our constables do a great job. It's not their fault that the mobile homes are sitting there, you know, abandoned and no one's taking them over or paying the taxes. So I would just like to mention that, and I do think that everybody, all departments plus them are doing a great job.
Any further, thank you, Sharon. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order approving the use of Good Deeds Community Center by 33rd Avenue High School in Luna on August 8th to 11th, 2024.
Second.
Discussion. Hear none, all in favor, signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order adjudicating and authorizing expenditures as listed as necessary to advertise and bringing favorable notice to opportunities, possibilities, and resources of Harrison County, including all forms of advertising, including but not limited to broadcast advertising, logo recognition on publicity collateral, other media, and all broadcast, printed material, and signage, along with the link displayed to Harrison County online.
Motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Discussion. Hear none, all in favor, signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries.
Doc, can you repeat number 54, please?
Yes, sir, be glad to. If you got the time to listen, I got the time to read it. Yeah, I know that's tough. Order spreading upon the minutes of proof of publication, advising the public that the 2024 assessment rolls are open for public inspection.
Motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Order finding that the 2024 assessment appeal for the following have been withdrawn.
Motion. Second.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Solomon, you have anything?
Not unless the board has any questions.
Any questions? All right. How about, first chance? None?
No, sir.
I have none.
Nope.
None?
I don't have anything.
I've got one expense report that got left off that I need to get approved.
Always takes one and you really
It always, it's for Supervisor Barrett.
Oh, it's for him?
Yes.
I thought he was gonna pay.
Yeah. Make them look.
All right, what is?
It was travel with Tampa, it's hotel and meals and,
Not meals, just hotel and mileage.
hotel
Mileage.
mileage. That's what I'm trying to get.
What do we need, any action required by the board?
Just approve it.
Just approve it?
Yes.
Motion
Do I hear a motion?
approved.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor, signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Sheriff? Nothing? Well, I have to announce that at this time we'll recess. Motion to recess?
Motion to recess till Wednesday.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor, signify by aye. Those opposed by no, motion carries. Thank y'all.